Hello guys, welcome back to Anime Moments. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Against the Gods based on novel. So let's start explanation. A scene of fluttering snow had shrunk down the distance between Yunche and Feng Shui by an extremely great extent. Feng Shui's mood had also become extraordinarily cheerful, because to her, the fluttering snow as far as one's eye could see, had always been the most beautiful dream she had yearned for. Big brother Yun, the snow you made, is a type of water attribute profound art, right? Feng Shui cupped her charming cheeks with her hands, looking at him with a glimmering gaze. This pure and untainted sprite, all of her feelings were displayed on her snow-like face without any hesitation. At the same time she spoke these words, she also expressed her curiosity and yearning for this kind of profound art. It's called frozen cloud arts. To be precise, it's a type of ice attribute profound art. Yunche answered without concealment, because he believed that Feng Shui definitely had never heard of this profound art's name before. But he still casually added on, Shui, have you ever heard of this profound art? No, Feng Shui lightly shook her small head, and asked curiously, but why would you know ice attribute profound arts? Our phoenix bloodline can burn the most ferocious phoenix flames, but wouldn't the power of fire attribute and ice attribute profound art conflict with each other? I had never heard of anyone in the sect that actually practiced water attribute profound arts. Royal Father seemed to have said that there isn't even anyone in the entire Divine Phoenix City. Water and fire suppressed one another, and could not have common grounds. Even if one cultivates them, when one type of profound energy is used, the other type must be suppressed to the utmost, otherwise, the two types of profound energy would cancel out by themselves, or even become chaotic. This was the most fundamental common sense of the profound way. Thus, practicing profound arts opposite of one's own attribute, other than wasting energy and fruitlessly increasing the risk that one might stir up just by mere carelessness, it could be said to be completely useless. Divine Phoenix Empire's fire elements were extraordinarily lively, and was an extremely fitting place to practice fire attribute profound arts. The profound practitioners there all basically practiced fire attribute profound arts as well. Other than occasional foreigners, profound practitioners who practice water profound arts simply couldn't be found at all. Even foreigners, because of the fire element's activeness, their bodies and profound veins would feel discomfort of various degrees if water attribute profound arts were the only thing they practiced. So, Feng Shui naturally had such a question. Yunche said calmly, Shui, did you know that our Divine Phoenix sect's force isn't merely limited to Divine Phoenix Empire? There are many clansmen who are sent to other nations since childhood, then conceal their Phoenix bloodline and join the relatively powerful and prestigious local sect or force, thereby obtaining information and intel, making up our sect's information network. Feng Shui's charming lips slightly opened, then, she lightly nodded, this I know. Father has told me about this before. Big brother Yun, are you someone who was sent to the outside since childhood? Feng Shui naturally wouldn't doubt Yunche's words. Because constructing information networks was one of the things that every single powerful sect had to do, and information networks were even one of the lifelines of a sect. Heavenly Sword Villa, Xiao Sect, and even Blue Wind Profound Palace all had disciples planted into other great sects, not to mention the colossal Divine Phoenix Sect. Yes, the place I was sent to is called Blue Wind Nation, and I've only returned to the sect this year. Yunche nodded. He answered with extreme calmness without any undulation. It was almost impossible for even a person who was extremely experienced to notice the traces of a lie within his gaze and expression. But when these words left his mouth, his heart and soul was violently clutched and pulled. In these years of 2 lifetimes, in order to achieve a certain purpose, or for survival, he had spoken concealing and misguiding words countless times, and had been long trained to the point that his heart wouldn't change its rhythm and the expression on his face wouldn't alter in the slightest. But this time, the person he was facing was a girl who was more pure than even the snow itself, and had moreover saved his life. Such a lie was only for concealing and achieving his purpose, and absolutely didn't have any intention to harm her, yet the sense of guilt and sin in his heart was record-breakingly intense. Blue Wind Nation, Feng Shui knew this country, and also knew that it was the smallest nation of the continent. Her charming eyes blinked once, as she continued asking, then is Big Brother Yun's frozen cloud arts learned from there? Since there are ice attribute profound arts, then would there be a lot of snow? Yun-che nodded. That is a place called the snow region of extreme ice. The entire 500 kilometers over there are all white snow. 500 kilometers? White snow. Feng Shui's cherry lips opened up in surprise. She couldn't imagine just what kind of marvelous scenery that would be. An entire 500 kilometers, all covered by snow, moreover, very very thick snow. Even if one shatters a dozen feet of the snow layer, what's beneath is still snow. Yun-che said while smiling. He believed that the snow region of extreme ice must be a heaven-like place for Feng Shui who likes snow. He narrated earnestly, because that place is very cold, the ice and snow over there wouldn't even melt in tens of millenniums. Look, all these surrounding mountains are all soil and stone, but at the snow region of extreme ice, even the ridges and peaks are covered by layers of snow and ice. The sky at where we are is blue, but over there, even the sky is projected to a pure white by the reflections of the endless snow. In that entire world, there is only a stretch of white without bounds. The sky and earth can't be distinguished, it's so pure and quiet that one could hear the sound of their own heartbeat. What? Feng Shui's hands had unwittingly covered her lips, her gaze as misty as fog. Is there really such a place? Snow region of extreme ice. Snow region of extreme ice. Not only that, even though it's all snow, there are also many flower and plants. And the flowers there are all ice flowers similar to crystals, and even the grass and trees are sparkling with the glimmer of ice. There are also very beautiful ice corals, and natural ice sculptures of various shapes. These are all unable to be seen at other places. Because once these things leave the snow region of extreme ice, they would all very quickly melt. Also, Yun-che pointed toward the snow phoenix. Little Chan was also nurtured up at the snow region of extreme ice, so its feather is just like the white snow. In the entire profound sky continent, snow phoenix beasts only exist there. To have left that place with me, Little Chan has worked hard. Snow phoenix beast uttered a light cry. Feng Shui's entire person became stupefied there. She felt as if she had fallen into an illusory world that hadn't ever appeared even in her dreams. The beauty of that place surpassed the most beautiful heaven she had fantasized about. Even with all of her knowledge, she couldn't draw just how beautiful of a picture scroll that would be. Endless spanning snow, snow-white mountains, snow-white skies, sparkling and translucent trees and flowers, as flocks of birds as pretty as little white fluttered and danced in the sky. Snow region of extreme ice. Snow region of extreme ice, she muttered this name as if deliriously raving, feeling as though her heart and spirit had already melted. Does Shui want to go there? Yun-che asked a question that he could completely be sure of the answer just by the look of her expression. Feng Shui very strongly nodded. Her white and glossy cheeks were adorned with a bit of excited blush. So in this world, there's actually such a beautiful place. I really want to go, if I can arrive at that kind of world, and live over there. What tilde how blissful would that be? But, the light in Feng Shui's eyes grew somewhat dim again. Royal Father has said that before I turn 20, I can't leave Divine Phoenix City. Royal Father is always so busy too, and also haven't left Divine Phoenix Sect in many years. Even after I'm 20, Royal Father probably wouldn't have the time to take me there. Then I'll take you there. Yun-che didn't even think, and uncontrollably blurted out. Ah, Feng Shui let out a light cry, and at the same time revealed a deep surprise that made Yun-che feel unexpected. Really? You're really willing to take me there? Toward his words, she believed them so firmly without any doubts, and was so unguarded against him. Instead, due to the snow he made, the scene he described, hints and threads of a young girl's reverence was arisen toward him. A surge of complication emerged in Yun-che's heart, yet there was also the feeling of warmth. He nodded with strength. Of course I'm willing. If you are still willing to recognize this. Big Brother Yun, when you are able to leave the Divine Phoenix City, as long as you want to, I'll definitely bring you to the snow region of extreme ice. I came to Divine Phoenix Empire from over there, and I very clearly know how to return. If we set off from the Divine Phoenix City, we'd arrive in half a month if we hurry. Hooray! The girl uttered in high spirits. All of the slight disappointments from before vanished like smoke in thin air. Looking at Yunche, she joyfully smiled like a most exquisite and beautiful doll. Big brother Yun, thank you, you are so nice. To be able to meet you, I am really very happy. To be able to view snow with such a beautiful girl like Shuer, I am the one that's the luckiest. Yunche said heartfeltly. However, he didn't know whether or not there would be a day that this promise could be realized. If she was still willing at that time, then no matter the hindrance, he'd still use all his power to realize it. Perhaps it was to make up for the guilt in his heart, or perhaps he wished to stand by her, shoulder to shoulder, in the depth of his heart. Then it's a deal. After I'm 20, Big Brother Yun will take me to snow region of extreme ice to see the endless fluttering snow. You definitely can't lie and take your word back, okay? Feng Shui said with a happy smile. Mn. Yunche nodded, and extended his pinky toward Feng Shui. Let's pinky swear. Ah? Feng Shui looked at the pinky Yunche reached out, then looked at her own finger, as a puzzling expression revealed on her face. Pinky swear, what does that mean? Yunche lightly shook his finger, and said, it lets us buckle our pinky together in order to prove that the words we speak will definitely be kept. No matter how many years pass, they will never change. Feng Shui timidly extended her finger as lustrous as the fine jade, and said in a low voice, as long as Big Brother Yun doesn't forget, I'll definitely keep my promise, but her body, even if it was the pinky, had never made contact with men before. Because in Feng Hengkong's eyes, every single inch of her skin was the most precious treasure of the Divine Phoenix sect. Anyone's touch would all be an unforgivable tarnish. Even he, the father, couldn't touch either. In fact, if he were to choose between Divine Phoenix sect and Feng Shui, he would unhesitatingly choose Feng Shui. And the reason within this was not merely that type of a father's radical love and protection toward his sole daughter. The even more important reason was only known by a few within the Divine Phoenix Empire. Other than Divine Phoenix Empire, even the 4 great sacred grounds had gotten information from who knew where, and also noticed Feng Shui a long time ago. This also made Feng Hengkong's protection toward Feng Shui prudent to the point that made one unable to comprehend. If he was to know that a man would actually sit so close to Feng Shui, and even engage in sweet talk, and even wanted to pinky swear with her, let alone that this person being the bastard he wanted to get rid of from the start, even if it was his own son, he'd unhesitatingly smash him into mincemeat with a palm under a flight of rage. Oh, I understand now. Yunche seemed to only have realized just now, your royal father doesn't allow anyone to touch you, and you are afraid of your royal father's scolding, right? Mn. Feng Shui lightly nodded, I can't disobey royal father's words. I'm more afraid that after royal father knows, he'll be angry at you. Just last year, 12th brother accidentally touched my shoulder, and was discovered by royal father. Royal father got so angry, and directly broke 12th brother's wrist, and even said that he'll cripple him. I begged for mercy for 12th brother. Royal father usually complies with me a lot, but he really was very angry, and still confined 12th brother for an entire half a year. It's my fault that 12th brother is harmed. I don't want Big Brother Yun to be harmed because of me, too. Just one touch on the shoulder, and even with Phoenix robe in between, and it was even his son of flesh and blood. To actually break his wrist without any mercy, and confine him for half a year. This Phoenix Emperor's cherishment toward his daughter simply had reached an extent that shocked heaven and earth. In comparison, the things he did these few days were enough for him to be executed by 1,000 cuts, 800 times over. And growing up in this kind of extreme protection, not only Feng Shui's heart, even her body was also pure to the extreme. And the purer the object, the easier it was to evoke the desire to taint and possess within the depth of men's heart, especially this kind of person like Yunche, who never constrains himself. Yunche didn't retract his pinky, and instead said smiling as he looked at her star-like eyes, Shui, your royal father really cherishes you. Him not wanting for others to touch you, is because he's worried that you will be harmed by others. Mn, I know, royal father is the person who cares about me the most in this world. Feng Shui said with a faint smile. However, if it's someone you like and is intimate with, there naturally wouldn't be any problems with physical contact, and can even make one another more intimate and fond of each other. Does Shui think that I am someone who would harm Shui, or someone who Shui is fond of? Yun Che said with a pure and serious face. Feng Shui unhesitatingly answered, Big Brother Yun is so nice, of course I like Big Brother Yun. Being together with Big Brother Yun makes me really happy. Big Brother Yun has even realized the dream I had for many years. Yun Che smiled, and extended his pinky before Feng Shui, then let us pinky swear. But, Feng Shui was still hesitating and timid. Relax, there's only the two of us here. Your royal father wouldn't know, which means he wouldn't get angry. Also, Shui is already 16 this year. 16 is an age where Shui has already grown up. Your royal father can't protect you for a lifetime, so you need to start learning to be mature and independent. First of all, you need to make decisions while following the depths of your heart, using your own feelings and judgment and not forever complying with words of other people. With the protection Feng Shui had received, naturally no one would have ever said these kind of words to her. Coming from Yun Che's mouth, the impact brought about by these words to Feng Shui's heart, that didn't have a single speck of dust, could be well imagined. She had already gotten used to the way of life that had persisted for 16 years. However, wanting to break through the world of self and restraint from the past till present was more so an innate instinct hidden within the depth of the human consciousness. Words that had never been heard before made Feng Shui's heart feel as if it had made contact with a whole different world, a world she had never experienced before. She listened to her heartbeat and repeated Yun Che's words once and once again in her mind. Follow her heart, make the decision she wanted to make. Finally, with great effort, Feng Shui made a resolution that could be said as the greatest one ever from the time she was born. She imitated Yun Che's actions, slowly extended her slender and fair pinky, and slowly touched toward Yun Che's pinky. Her movements were very slow, nervous, at a loss, and helpless, along with a kind of faint anticipation. Finally, her pinky made contact with Yun Che's pinky on her own accord. Instantly, as if she had experienced an electric shock, she retracted her little hand back at once. But Yun Che did not give her such a chance. His finger quickly went forward, and fast yet gently buckled onto her pinky. Instantly, a tactile sensation soft and smooth to the point of unfathomable came, as though he had touched the most flawless and pure warm jade in the world. Feng Shui let out a light cry, her entire body became stiff for a bit. Her pinky subconsciously wished to struggle free, yet was tightly buckled down by Yun Che. Amidst nervousness, her pinky tightly twined with Yun Che's finger, her entire body more so didn't move at all, as she didn't even dare to open her eyes. Pinky swear, the words we spoke before will never be disavowed. After Shui is 20, we'll go together to Blue Wind Nation's snow region of extreme ice to see the endless falling snow. Yun Che lifted his wrist, pulled Feng Shui's small hand, and said in dead earnest. Only, after his voice fell, he still didn't loosen his finger. His voice also drove away Feng Shui's nervousness and helplessness to a great extent and made her expression finally ease up somewhat. Within the sky poison pearl, Jasmine looked at Yun Che buckling Feng Shui's pinky with cold eyes. Her exquisite yet unnatural little face was full of scorn. He's starting again. No matter where this damned fool goes, anytime he meets a somewhat pretty woman, he'll immediately reveal his nature of a pervert and beast, and will never change. Shui, how do you feel right now? Do you feel sad, or find it difficult to accept it? Seeing that even though Feng Shui became calm again, her eyes were still closed and unwilling to open, Yun Che asked while moving a little closer. Oh, it's a very weird feeling. Feng Shui's eyelashes faintly trembled, as she answered softly. Weird? It's a kind of indescribable feeling, but it's not loathsome, nor is it sad. I never had felt this kind of weird feeling. Also, my heart is suddenly beating so fast. Big Brother Yun, can you tell me what kind of feeling this is? I can't tell you this, rather that it needs Shui herself to feel and understand. Yun Che said with a faint smile. His expression at the moment was exactly like a big bad wolf who was sneaking up on a little white rabbit. After a bit of hesitation, he suddenly grasped over her entire hand. Feng Shui's hand was very small, and was completely grasped within his hands in one go, just like that. Feng Shui uttered a faint cry, yet the reaction this time wasn't as acute as the time before. Even the struggling only happened in that one subconscious instant at the start. Then, how about this? What kind of feeling does Shui have? Shueqi gently held Feng Shui's tiny hand. There was a kind of softness and tenderness he couldn't describe. Just holding her hand in silence like that, he felt his entire body's nervous system uncontrollably becoming lax, not willing to let go no matter what. Heartbeat became faster, Feng Shui lightly muttered, so making contact with Big Brother Yun would actually be such a weird feeling. Big Brother Yun, can we stay like this a little longer? I really want to know what kind of feeling this is. This kind of request, how could Yunche not agree? How he wished he could hold her hand forever. With her eyes closed, Feng Shui sensed the feeling earnestly. After a while, she softly uttered, I still don't understand. I seem to have felt Big Brother Yun's heart beat. What? Big Brother Yun's phoenix bloodline is so pure, even purer than that of my royal brothers. Eh? Feng Shui opened her eyes and looked at Yunche puzzled. So weird, why hasn't Big Brother Yun cultivated the world ode of the Phoenix yet? Even though Yunche possessed the world ode of the Phoenix's 5th and 6th stage profound skills, these were only the profound skills carried on by these 2 stages. A profound skills activation required a profound art with corresponding power, while Yunche jumped over this rule with the power of the evil god seed and his own comprehensive ability, forcefully activating the Empyrean dance of the Phoenix and star-scorching demon lotus with the most basic of Phoenix flames. But in terms of power, they naturally were much inferior to activating them with the genuine Phoenix profound art. Therefore, just from the aspect of the world ode of the Phoenix's profound art, it could indeed be said that Yunche hadn't practiced it in the slightest. A person who cultivated world ode of the Phoenix could tell just by casually probing his profound energy attribute. Yunche curbed his expression and said, because in these earlier years, I had always been at Blue Wind Nation. For hiding my identity, not only does the Phoenix bloodline need to be concealed, I also can't cultivate the world ode of the Phoenix. This year, I had just returned to the sect. 19th Elder is busy every single day, and didn't have the free time to teach me. And since I've been out for many years, there aren't any fellow clansmen I'm very familiar with either, so naturally no one would be willing to teach me the world ode of the Phoenix. So that's the case tilde, no wonder, Feng Shui thought for a bit, then a glint suddenly flashed in her eyes, as her expression became excited, then does Big Brother Yun want to learn the world ode of the Phoenix? Of course I do. Yunche unhesitatingly nodded, but since you want to, then let me teach Big Brother Yun, all right? Feng Shui said with a cheerily smiling expression, as if this was something that would make her very happy. You, teach me. Yunche's heart and mind violently shook a bit. When Feng Shui had mentioned World Ode of the Phoenix, the thought of making Feng Shui teach him World Ode of the Phoenix had flashed through his mind before, but was immediately extinguished by him. Because he had already deceived Feng Shui in regards to his identity, and he didn't have the heart to scheme against her once more, even if the World Ode of the Phoenix was extremely important to him. But he didn't expect that Feng Shui would actually voluntarily propose to teach him World Ode of the Phoenix. Yunche's mood instantly became incomparably complicated. Seeing that Yunche didn't answer right away, his expression becoming hesitating and complicated, Feng Shui became somewhat anxious instead. She swayed Yunche's hands, and said as if she was acting spoiled, Big Brother Yun, just agree to let me teach you, okay? Big Brother Yun lets me eat so many delicious things, and for beautiful snow, you've even agreed to take me to snow region of extreme ice. I haven't been so happy in such a long time. I also really want to do something for Big Brother Yun. Even though I've never taught anyone before, I can definitely teach very, very well. Big Brother Yun, just comply with me, okay? Okay? Yunche looked at her, and said with a smile that was yet not a smile, Shui, is it that you want me to stay here for a longer period of time, so you can play with little Chan every single day? With a little than half of her intentions being easily exposed, Feng Shui began to smile shyly, not only little white, I also really like Big Brother Yun right now, and want Big Brother Yun to accompany me for a while longer. Before, I've always been alone here, doing the same thing every day, it really is boring. But with Big Brother Yun and Little White here, I feel like I'm so happy that I'm about to go crazy. Just let me teach you World Ode of the Phoenix, Big Brother Yun can leave after he learns it, okay? From Feng Shui's perspective, teaching World Ode of the Phoenix to a divine Phoenix sect's fellow clansmen really wasn't much, because it was a profound art that every single Phoenix disciple knew how to use, and could be cultivated if one possessed the Phoenix bloodline. Ones who possessed the Phoenix bloodline, yet didn't cultivate World Ode of the Phoenix was instead abnormal. Seeing how Feng Shui was at the moment, if he were to refuse, she would instead feel at a loss. He originally didn't have the intention to steal World Ode of the Phoenix from Feng Shui, but okay. Yunche chose to gladly agree, and said half-jokingly while half-exclaiming to himself, letting Shui, Princess Snow, to personally teach me World Ode of the Phoenix, it seems as though I'm dreaming. Hee. Feng Shui cheerfully laughed. This is the first thing I'm doing for Big Brother Yun, I'll definitely take it very seriously. Then, how about we start right now? Okay. Big Brother Yun is wounded right now, and just by chance can quietly comprehend the profound formula when recuperating. Then, I'll teach Big Brother Yun the fundamental formula right now. Big Brother Yun needs to attentively comprehend it, okay? Amidst the soft voice, Feng Shui lifted her finger, and pointed at the center between Yunche's brows without touching him. A stroke of firelight faintly flickered. Instantly, World Ode of the Phoenix's fundamental formula distinctively emerged within Yunche's sea of consciousness. World Ode of the Phoenix's fundamental formula flowed into Yunche's mind. What throbbed first was not Yunche's mind, but the evil god's fire seed. A flame also starting burning within Yunche's mind, gradually imprinting the drifting profound formula firmly into his soul. The requisites to learning the World Ode of the Phoenix required having the Phoenix bloodline. Even when possessing the Phoenix bloodline, it would still take a very long time to comprehend the fundamental formula of the World Ode of the Phoenix. This was because the World Ode of the Phoenix was essentially a profound art that belonged at the plane of gods. The flame laws it contained were far above that of ordinary profound flames. Even the weakest first to 6 stages required an immense difficulty for the user to perfectly comprehend, and was absolutely not something ordinary profound arts could compare to. But towards Yunche, this wasn't at all a concern. That was because the existence of the evil god's fire seed allowed him to easily understand and comprehend laws of fire of any shape and form. With the evil god's fire seed, Yunche's current body was like an unpolished jade that could be sculpted at will. Even if it was this powerful World Ode of the Phoenix, the process of comprehension would be as simple as directly carving it into his body. After reading the fundamental formula of the World Ode of the Phoenix once in his heart, Yunche had already understood it clearly. Those profound formulas turmoiled in his soul, then suddenly combined together, creating a vast and boundless world. That was a dark sky of stars with countless heavenly bodies within, and in the next moment, scorching flames suddenly burned up, and entirely engulfed this colossal cosmos. In the sea of fire that could overturn the world, a loud and resonant phoenix cry suddenly sounded, as a golden-colored phoenix spreaded out its wings, bathing in flames, born from the sea of fire. A surge of scorching yet vast aura filled Yunche's mind to the brim, and also caused him to feel as if he had opened a gate to another world all of a sudden, as his body was also placed within a whole new world. As the profound formula entered Yunche's body, he closed his eyes and became motionless. Princess Snow quietly sat in front of him, her beautiful eyes continuously watched Yunche, in order to prevent unusual conditions such as soul damage and profound energy going into chaos during his comprehension mode. But as an hour passed, Yunche was not only completely calm during this period, even his breathing had completely stabilized and was steady to the point that it seemed as if he had fallen asleep. Princess Snow showed a sign of relief. She once again looked at Yunche for a while, and muttered to herself in a low voice, "It seems he has started to comprehend. There should be no problems if this was the case, but it should take a long time. Little White, let's go play." Feng Shui stood up, and just as she was about to go towards Little White's side, a layer of mist-like flames suddenly flared up on Yunche's body. Feng Shui stopped in her tracks and looked at Yunche with a surprised expression. The spontaneously ignited misty layer of flames adhered onto Yunche's body, slowly flowed and shifted on the surface of his body, and gradually burned higher and higher. Right after, these flames again extinguished and an illusionary phoenix's image emerged behind Yunche's back. At the same time, the phoenix mark on Yunche's forehead appeared by itself, and released a dazzling golden light. Ah! Feng Shui uttered an astonished cry as she stared blankly at the phoenix mark on Yun Che's forehead. That was a phoenix mark that anyone who carried the bloodline of the phoenix would have. When igniting phoenix flames, unless one deliberately conceals it, the phoenix mark will emerge by itself. Princess Snow still had her stupefied look, as she stared blankly at the golden phoenix mark on Yun Che's forehead. The expression in her eyes was in unrest, as the emotions contained within her gaze suddenly became incomparably chaotic. The phoenix's image lasted for a long time, before it finally slowly vanished, and the golden imprint on Yun Che's forehead also faded along with it. Yun Che also opened his eyes at this time, and at the first glance, he saw Feng Shui's eyes that were filled with astonishment. Big Brother Yun, you actually have already completely comprehended the fundamental formula, and thoroughly mastered the bloodline and world ode of the phoenix's profound art. Feng Shui stared her eyes wide, and said with a voice that carried a heavy tone of disbelief. That's right. Yun Che nodded. Isn't this very easy? Right, Shui. How long did it take me in total? It only took an hour. An hour? Is this considered very short? Short to the point of unfathomable. Feng Shui's emotions turmoiled. The fundamental formula is the foundation of world ode of the phoenix's cultivation. Only after thoroughly comprehending it would one be able to harmonize their bloodline and profound art. It's also the most important and the most difficult step. Even under the help and guidance of the senior generation, and even if one's comprehension ability is very great, it'll still need to at least take over a year, and some would need several years. But Big Brother Yun, you only used an hour. With the evil god's fire seed, no matter how difficult the fire attribute profound art, it was all just like the lift of a hand for him. Only after hearing Shui saying it like this, did he suddenly realize that mastering the fundamental formula just like that was indeed a somewhat exaggerated speed. Just as he was pondering how he should explain, he then saw Feng Shui's charming face already blooming with utmost reverence. Wow! Big Brother Yun, you're too amazing. You're the most terrific genius that Shui has ever seen. Back then Royal Father had praised me for comprehending the fastest, but compared to Big Brother Yun, I'm way inferior. Yun Che somewhat embarrassedly pressed his forehead. How could I be as amazing as Shui said? It's clearly Shui who has taught me well, which is why I could comprehend it so fast. Heh? Big Brother Yun only knows how to coax me. I only had given the profound formula to Big Brother Yun, and didn't give any other help and guidance, and more so didn't use profound energy as a guide. As if it's got anything to do with me at all, it's Big Brother Yun himself who's amazing. Feng Shui said with a broad smile. No, of course that isn't the case. Yun Che said with a serious face, Shui is good-looking, of noble status, with a kind nature. To be able to be taught the world ode of the phoenix personally by Shui would be a blissful thing for anyone. Like this, any kind of miracle have a chance of happening. If it was a harsh old granny who taught me, I probably wouldn't have comprehended it within 10 years. Even though she knew that Yun Che was coaxing her, she still laughed very cheerfully. I had originally wanted to teach Big Brother Yun bit by bit, but since Big Brother Yun is so amazing, then I'll just teach all of world ode of the phoenix's profound arts to Big Brother Yun. Maybe Big Brother Yun can similarly comprehend them very fast. As she spoke, Feng Shui extended her jade hands. A speck of dazzling red light congealed up between her fingers, then she carefully touched it onto the center of Yun Che's brows. Instantly, the complete profound formulas of the first to the fourth stage, all slowly and clearly entered Yun Che's sea of consciousness. The world ode of the phoenix, from the fundamental formula to the first 4 stages that belonged to Divine Phoenix sect, was acquired just like this by Yun Che in such a complete and intact fashion. Yun Che had already received the phoenix's blood for nearly 3 years. Even though he forcefully learned 2 phoenix profound skills, he never was able to cultivate the world ode of the phoenix. The world ode of the phoenix could be said as something he had always yearned for even in his dreams, and he knew how difficult and dangerous it would be to obtain this world ode of the phoenix from Divine Phoenix sect. He didn't expect that he would obtain Divine Phoenix sect's complete world ode of the phoenix precisely today. If he went through layers upon layers of danger, schemes, gambles, or even blood and obtained the world ode of the phoenix, he would have no qualms about it, and let out 3 hearty laughters. But at this moment, obtaining it without spending any effort at all, instead made him to be somewhat at a loss. Because what Feng Shui had given him wasn't merely World Ode of the Phoenix, but also a heart that completely trusted and was intimate with him, as well as feelings without the slightest speck of dust and impurity. Yet the premise of everything was his deceit toward her. Even if it was a deceit where he had no other choice. As the first 4 stages of profound formula flooded in, the 5th and 6th stage profound formula that had long ago been engraved within Yunche's mind and soul was awakened at the same time. For a moment, the 6 stages of profound formulas combined and joined together by themselves, converging into the World Ode of the Phoenix's complete 1st to 6th stages. Even though Yunche's mind was slightly in chaos, the Phoenix profound energy had already automatically channeled and fused following the profound formulas that entered Yunche's mind. So, he closed his eyes, ridded the distracting thoughts, and concentrated on comprehending the profound formulas. As the 7-nation ranking tournament neared, Divine Phoenix City also became more clamorous day by day. The profound practitioners of the 6 nations who were participating in ranking tournament, as well as their escorts, all one by one arrived at Divine Phoenix City. To be qualified to participate in the 7-nation ranking tournament, they were no doubt the younger generation's most tip-top prodigies of the 6 nations. And the people who accompanied them here, and also similarly beings at the pinnacle of the political and profound world within the 6 nations. Without exception, the emperors of the 6 nations all personally came. However, these people who could all look down upon a nation, when arriving at the Divine Phoenix City, there was no choice but for them to lower their heads and be cautious and prudent. At this time, there were only 3 days left until the 7-nation ranking tournament. In the 6 nations, other than the Blue Wind Nation, the other 5 nations participants had already all arrived, and were settled at the core encampment of Divine Phoenix Empire, Phoenix City. Blue Wind Nation's people still aren't here today. Listening to his subordinate's report, Feng Shiming pondered. Yes. I just especially asked the city gate people, there hasn't been any Blue Wind participants entering the city. Should we immediately sound transmit to Blue Wind Imperial family to inquire? No need. Feng Shiming lifted his hand, HMPH. Tiny Blue Wind Nation is also merely a joke at this 7-nation ranking tournament. I had thought someone interesting would happen in this session. Looks like, this prince has really overestimated that kid called Yunche. This prince had actually really believed that he would personally come participate in this ranking tournament like he had yelled out. I reckon that he has already hid somewhere he'd believe we can't find him with tails between his legs. No need to hurry and prepare the Blue Wind Nation's dwelling location. It's better that they don't come. Not only will that help us cut down the ranking tournament's schedule, it also just happens to give Royal Father another exceptionally good excuse. Withdraw for now. Right, today's welcome banquet, there's no need to arrange Blue Wind Nation seats either. Yes. A long time ago, there were 2 young profound practitioners, one of them was named Zukuan, the other named Liu Ti. They were of ordinary aptitude, and were frequently bullied and mocked by others. So they worked hard for prosperity, and decided to assiduously train together. Every single day before the sun even came up, as long as they heard the crow of roosters, they would get up from the bed and practice swordsmanship. Day after day, year after year, finally, they both got hit with the bird flu. What is bird flu? Feng Shui asked very curiously. It's a very terrifying virus. Yunche said in dead earnest, this story is called Working Hard at the First Crow of the Rooster. The moral of the story is that we definitely have to keep away from the bird flu. This story is so boring. I still want to hear the story of Snow White. After Snow White and the Frog Prince got together, what will happen then? I really want to know. Let me think about it properly. Yunche scratched his scalp. Think of it properly, okay? Big brother Yun, say ah. Leaning on Yunche's shoulder, Feng Shui put her half-eaten dragon meat skewer beside his mouth, and watched him take a big bite out of it with a grin. Once the Pandora's box was opened, the former taboo would rip apart a gap ever increasing in size. The Feng Shui, who would definitely not have any contact with anyone before, was very naturally leaning together with Yunche, eating the same meat skewer with him under various leads by Yunche. If Feng Hankong saw this scene at this moment, he'd definitely be angry to the point of hovering between life and death. Slapping Yun Che into mincemeat on the spot would even be considered letting him off light. After a long while, Yun Che finally thought of the following storyline. He cleared his throat, and just as he was about to narrate, the phoenix god jade hung in front of her chest suddenly flickered with a scarlet-colored light. Feng Shui took up the phoenix god jade. Her expression suddenly became somewhat sullen. "Shui, what is it?" Yun Che immediately asked. Feng Shui looked at Yun Che and said with a pitiful expression in her eyes, "It's royal father. He's about to come here right now, then take me back to Phoenix City." "Big brother Yun. Why is he taking you back right now? Your royal father making you stay here alone, wasn't it because he'll be busy with the matter of the ranking tournament and primordial profound arc? But right now should be the time he's the busiest." Yun Che said, somewhat puzzled. Feng Shui lightly shook her head. "Royal father had said, this is the first 7-nation ranking tournament ever since my birth, and he'll take me there on site. If I'm willing, he can even take me onto the primordial profound arc. Royal father taking me back now should be because all of the affairs have been properly prepared." "You will go to the site of the ranking tournament?" Yun Che's heart slightly shook. "Amen. Big brother Yun, quickly leave this place. If royal father sees you here, it'll be bad." Feng Shui stood up, her expression somewhat panicky. She grabbed Yun Che's arm, but didn't push him away, rather unwittingly gripped tighter. There were 3 days left from the start of the ranking tournament. In fact, he should have left a long time ago. The reason as to why he hadn't yet left, he knew very well in his heart. It was because he wasn't willing to part with Feng Shui. Her features, voice, art, every single look, every single expression in her eyes, were all firmly attracting him, making it as if he were sucked into an endlessly beautiful starry sky, sinking deeper and deeper within. In this world, no one can withstand her charm. And Yun Che, due to an accident stemming from many causes, with extraordinary luck, became the first person who could make close-range contact with her. "It's indeed time for me to leave," Yun Che exclaimed in his heart. Attentively watching Feng Shui's eyes flickering with light, he lifted his hand, put it atop Shui's head, as his fingers slowly slid off along the contour of her hair. This unduly intimate action caused Feng Shui's eyes to only tremble a bit. But she did not show any signs of rejection. "Shui, these days, I will always remember. Thank you, and thank the heavens for letting me meet you." Big brother Yun's words are so weird. Feng Zhe minted her charming lips. "Later, we will still meet again, isn't that right?" "Of course." Yun Che smilingly nodded, "because I've already promised to take Shui to see the endlessly flowing snow. My promise to Shui will never be forgotten." "Amen." Feng Shui nodded, her expression finally becoming somewhat cheerful. Her eyes carried unwillingness to part, yet her hands were gently pushing Yun Che. "Even though I really hate to part with Big Brother Yun, it really is time for Big Brother Yun to leave. Royal Father will arrive here in less than a quarter of an hour. If you still don't leave, you'll really be discovered by Royal Father. I'm going." Yun Che's hand moved away from Feng Shui's shoulders. After glancing at her with incredible meticulousness, he finally turned around, then called over the Snow Phoenix Beast. Snow Phoenix Beast flew up to him, and just as he was about to hop onto Snow Phoenix Beast's back, Yun Che stopped in his steps. He turned around, his hands quietly clutched tight, and at last he still said in a small voice, "Shui, let's say if one day, you found out I have lied to you about some things, will you hate me? Will you still consider me your big brother Yun?" "Ah?" Yun Che's sudden words made Feng Shui a little at a loss. Why would Big Brother Yun say such a weird thing? How is it possible for Big Brother Yun to deceive me? I'm saying, just if there are some things I really have deceived you on, would you hate me? Yun Che's voice became even quieter, a sentence that wasn't lengthy, yet was spoken with extraordinary difficulty. I don't know. Feng Shui shook her head. The expression in her eyes was somewhat stumped, as if she couldn't understand the question Yun Che had put forward. She lightly spoke, "But, in these days together with Big Brother Yun, what I have felt are all Big Brother Yun's kindness toward me. Snowing for me every day, teaching me how to build snowmen, cooking delicious food for me, telling me many interesting stories. Big Brother Yoon's smile is pretty, and his gaze is also very gentle. These days, I've been so happy every day, even the dreams I dream when sleeping, had become very blissful. Yoon Chae. This kind of Big Brother Yoon, I don't believe he would be willing to deceive me. Even if he really deceived me, then he must have had no other choice, and not in order to harm me. Every single word of Feng Shui was sincere and relaxed. This was the voice coming from her heart. I will forever remember Big Brother Yoon's kindness, and the matter he promised me. In the future, no matter what happens, I believe that Big Brother Yoon will never harm me, and I'll never do anything that'll harm Big Brother Yoon either. The last sentence of Feng Shui made Yoon Chae somewhat puzzled. But even more so, it fiercely stirred up his heart. He no longer spoke, because no matter what he said under Feng Shui's gaze that was as pure as snow, it would be incomparably pale in comparison. He leapt onto the Snow Phoenix Beast's back, took off into the air under Snow Phoenix Beast's carriage, and directly flew toward Absolute Phoenix Cliff. Feng Shui had already told him that the other 3 directions of Phoenix Perching Valley all should have people guarding there. If he were to safely leave without alarming anyone, he would still need to go through Absolute Phoenix Cliff. Big Brother Yoon, I'll come here often in the future. I will wait for Big Brother Yoon to appear once again. Big Brother Yoon, you can't forget the words said between us. After I'm 20, you definitely have to take me to snow region of extreme ice. Big Brother Yoon, Little White, I'll miss you guys very much. The sound of wind howled beside his ears. Feng Shui's voice came from below against the wind. The voice at last even carried a sobbing tone that was being repressed with effort. A few thousand meters in height wasn't much for Snow Phoenix Beast. Very soon, Absolute Phoenix Cliff's summit appeared before Yoon Chae's eyes. Yoon Chae dismounted from Snow Phoenix Beast's back and stood beside the cliff. Within the dark green-colored valley that was like an otherworldly utopia, he could faintly see that fairy-like beautiful silhouette. She was the princess of Divine Phoenix Empire, the most brilliant jewel of the entire profound sky continent. She had been protected to the utmost limit. But at the same time, she was also lonely. Which was why, in these days he had carelessly intruded into her world. She was so happy and excited. Little Chan, do you want to accompany her, by her side? With his gaze looking down, Yoon Chae suddenly spoke. Scree, Snow Phoenix Beast slapped her wings and let out a quiet cry. Its majestic head continuously made a few nodding movements. Huh? Nodding. With an extremely bitter and unsatisfied expression in his eyes, Yoon Chae gave Snow Phoenix Beast a fierce stare. Even if Shui's charm can't be resisted, even if you really want to stay by her side, you are still my contracted profound beast right now. Wow. Can't you be a little bit more reserved, even if you have to fake it a little? Forget it. Yoon Chae's mouth became askew. He extended his wrist, as the Snow Phoenix Beast's profound imprint emerged on the back. With a thought, the profound energy connection with Snow Phoenix Beast was directly severed. The profound imprint on the back of his hand also slowly vanished. Snow Phoenix Beast completely recovered its freedom. It spread its wings and took off, and circled and danced above Yoon Chae's head, letting out sharp cries that one couldn't tell whether it was from excitement or unwillingness to part. Seeing the Snow Phoenix Beast that regained freedom, what was more in Yoon Chae's heart wasn't sadness, but a sort of relaxed feeling. He said with a faint smile, Little Chan, go ahead. Staying with me, you will only face hardships and danger everywhere. Accompanying Shui, she likes you so much, and will definitely treat you well. You no longer need to suffer laborious hardship with me anymore. Go? Scree tilde 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 tilde. A long cry resonantly sliced through the skies. After Snow Phoenix Beast danced and fluttered for a while, it finally descended, and flew toward the Phoenix Perching Valley below. Very soon, those 2 snow-white-colored silhouettes slowly assembled together. Yoon Chae let out a faint laugh. After taking another deep glance in the end, he took 2 steps back, then put away all of his unwillingness to part, and walked toward the south. Why did you let Snow Phoenix Beast leave? Jasmine couldn't help but ask, you still can't fly right now. Without Snow Phoenix Beast, what will you do when you need to fly? Yunche shook his head and said, giving the snow phoenix beast to Shuer isn't just because Shuer likes it. It is because that I don't know whether or not I can successfully preserve my own life during this session of ranking tournament. If I am unlucky, at least Snow Phoenix Beast doesn't need to die together with me. Not only can it be saved, it can be considered a tiny bit of repayment to Shuer. Her heart was sincere toward me, yet I still have deceived her after all that's said and done. HMPH, Jasmine sneered, deceiving girls, isn't that your habitual method of doing things? You had never been so conscious of your guilt before, isn't that so? That's not the same. Yunche curled his lips. Conquering and deception are two entirely different concepts a little girl like you wouldn't understand. Jasmine was disdained to reply, and asked conversely, on the matter of whether or not you can keep your life, I actually have good news to tell you. Good news? Jasmine said indifferently, if I'm guessing correctly, after your Phoenix bloodline was found out by Divine Phoenix Sect, what you dread the most isn't Divine Phoenix Sect, but the true progenitor of Divine Phoenix Sect, the other Phoenix Spirit, just like the Phoenix Spirit you met at the 10,000 Beast Mountain range back then. Yunche's footsteps stalled a little, then he slowly nodded, you are entirely correct. Back then, when I left the Phoenix's trial grounds, the Phoenix Spirit had also warned severely that I must be cautious of the other Phoenix Spirit's existence. Divine Phoenix Sect's Phoenix Spirit had always thought the Phoenix Spirit who granted me heritage was killed by it a long time ago. If it found out that the Phoenix's bloodline in me stems from another Phoenix's legacy, then the one who will be harmed will not only be myself. The Phoenix Spirit of the 10,000 Beast Mountain range, as well as the Phoenix tribe who just recently broke away from their curse, may also encounter a great disaster. Yunche uttered a low sigh. Yet with the bloodline's exposure, there would be no other choice but to face Divine Phoenix Sect as soon as possible. Otherwise, the ones who will be implicated would be people at my side. So, on the way here from the Blue Wind Nation, I had always prayed for that Phoenix Beast to always be residing in the dark, and won't have any interest to probe into affairs of the ranking tournament. About this Phoenix Spirit, there's already no need for you to worry. Jasmine said emotionlessly. Why? Because it's already dead. What? Dead? Yunche's footsteps stopped at once. Are you sure? Wait. How did you know it's dead? Heh, Jasmine laughed insidiously. You don't need to mind how I found out. It shouldn't be too long since its death, but I am certain that it has already died. However, even though it died, there's a high chance that the bloodline and memories have been passed on. So, in this world, there are perhaps still people who can discern that your bloodline comes from another Phoenix's legacy. Yunche's spirit was instantly roused up. Words spoken by Jasmine in such a confidence tone, naturally he wouldn't doubt them, very well. If Divine Phoenix Sect's Phoenix Spirit really has died, then my greatest worry is also gone. Like this, during the ranking tournament, I will be able to perform without any worries of future consequences. And so? How confident are you to make Divine Phoenix Sect no longer find trouble for you, and also survive? 70%. Yunche said with swelling confidence, perhaps I'd even be able to go for a stroll on that mysterious primordial profound arc. Episode 66 is end here. Next episode coming tomorrow. Thanks for watching.